Welcome to the new year. Wasn't sure how many people are going to be here or not, so I'm going to start recording some kind of daily or at least weekly overviews so that those of you that may be at home will be able to still kind of follow along. So here's the basic idea for the week. What I'm looking for is we're going to turn in a draft of your completed illustration and poster this Thursday. You'll still have a couple more days after that to make revisions and final changes to it, but I want to make sure that we had a chance to kind of see some progress and get some feedback from other students. So that will be due on Thursday, and I'll give you more details when that draws a little closer. On Friday, we'll have a short quiz, and I'll show you what you need to study and what resources I've put together. So to begin with, we're going to be working on your illustration. So I have a short video here that explains how to set up a new blank document. I recommend opening up your layout so that you can, and your headlines and steps, so that you can pull pieces of those over before you start doing your illustrations. Now, since most of you are doing a ton of different Illustrator formats, what I've set up is right here. If you click on the click for details, I've added in some additional resources right here. So here's some text effects. These text effects I think would be really useful for maybe your title, but I wouldn't focus on that one right now. I really want you to get your illustrations going because we've already focused on getting the basic layout of the topography, but we haven't really focused on getting it really the illustrations refined. So on this part right here, I have a link that's set up, and this isn't for you to necessarily follow step by step. This is really more for you to get some inspiration and see some techniques. So even just skimming through the tutorials will potentially give you some ideas on different ways to start your drawings. So from here, this one's showing you going from a straight sketch to here. So even though that's not the illustration style that you're looking for, if you're starting from a drawing, this one might be useful. I've got some other things here for retro stuff, some painted swirls, how to do some basic things based off of a photo. So even if it's not a person, you're going to do a photo off of a car or a bowl of ramen or something else. This might be useful. So there's a few other ones, a little bit more details. You can kind of see how it's been built up from shadows to highlights to midtones. Some things with text, a few others. You might see some stuff I've shown you before, but those are some basic things that you can look at depending on your style that you're going for. I've also put this one on here. Now, again, this is not necessarily for you to follow step by step. This is just more of an inspiration to show you, since I know some of you have picked some food related things, how this was done, starting using just basic shapes and then applying different gradients on top of it, using this gradient mesh to be able to get a little bit more detailed. And you can kind of skim through quite a bit to see different techniques on using a gradient, using basic traced shapes, and then being able to add in other little pieces to build up a feeling of something that's a little bit more realistic than just a cartoon, like coloring book type drawing. So that one might be useful. I've also got a short video here that's set up on how to take a tracing. This could be like, again, a photo of a person, a photo of a car, a photo of a building, whatever it happens to be. This is a really simple technique to build up to it. And then this one's a bit longer, but this one might be interesting for you to skim through to see a little bit more stylized use of gradients to really build up something that looks much more refined than just a pin tracing of something. So that is what we're looking towards doing for this week. In addition to that, let me kick over to here. This is the quiz that you'll be working on. I have a study guide that's set up. It's focused primarily on which of the three main Illustrator, Photoshop, or InDesign programs would you use for what type of final product. Then what are some of the benefits and what programs are used primarily for vector graphics versus raster graphics? So we're starting to learn some more vocabulary and reinforce the vocabulary. And then being able to identify the path, anchor point, handle, smooth anchor point, corner point, and then with the Pathfinder, the unite, minus, and divide. Now, to help you with those, I've got a video that's here. This one's short. It's like less than 5 minutes. I've got a cheat sheet that's here that you can click on or zoom in on, just control or command plus, to show you what happens when you have a graphic on top of another and you press unite. Or I'll show you later this week a way you can play around with this using Illustrator. And then also this is some vocabulary, looking at the difference between a smooth point, a corner point, and then what is a path, what is an anchor point, what is a handle. And then I just threw this one in here because I think this one's interesting to use when you're using the convert tool, what it's actually doing when you're grabbing any one of these pieces. If you're dragging This is how you can convert something from a corner point to having a smooth point. This is how, if you just click on it once, if you've got curves on this side, it'll arc. So just something to experiment with. And then this one explains which one of these three programs you should use depending on what final thing you want to create. So that is what this week is going to look like. First draft is going to be due on Friday of your final poster. And then on Friday, we'll take this quiz. And that is what we're going to be working on.